I'm Professor Pipes, and I just want to say thanks for stopping by Piper's Paraphrases. Oh, you don't get it? Well, today I'll be discussing Robert Frost's poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Now you get it? Great! Then let's get started. In this brief poem, the narrator has stopped by some woods on a snowy evening. Surprise, surprise. They mention that the owner of the woods lives in the village, so he won't be bothered by the narrator creeping on his woods, watching the snow fall. The narrator says their horse might think they're weird for stopping on the darkest night of the year, far away from civilization. What a judgy horse. He even shakes his bells like he's trying to get the narrator to leave. But they don't, yet, listening instead to the wind blowing the snow. The narrator seems to look longingly at the deep, dark woods, but reminds themselves that they have promises to keep and miles more to travel. And that's it. That's the whole poem. As you can tell, this is a very short poem, only 16 lines long, so we'll be out of here in a flash. But maybe that's the problem. It seems as if the point of this poem is that we shouldn't be so quick to rush onward. Instead, we should take a moment. Okay, moment over. There isn't total consensus over the meaning of this little poem, with two main camps, one a whole lot darker than the others. So, which should I start with? You know what? Let's go dark, guys. First of all, the poem is broken up into 4 quatrains, or sets of 4 lines, which have a very consistent rhyme scheme of AABA, BBCB, CCDC, but then it switches in the last stanza with all 4 lines rhyming, DDDD. Not only that, but the last 2 lines are repeats, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. The repetition and change in rhyme scheme really make these lines stand out, and some say for good reason. One interpretation of this poem is that the journey the speaker is on is life, and the deep dark woods that are so tempting to the narrator represent death. The great beyond, the unknown, the darkness into which they will step once they die. And they want to stay there, in those woods, representing a desire for death. However, they remember that they have promises to keep, obligations left in their life, and it will be miles and miles before they're able to sleep. And those metaphorical miles between the speaker and the eternal sleep of death seem endless and repetitive. So, sad poem. Sorry about that, everybody. The other main interpretation is a little less depressing, and certainly makes sense for a man who penned such other poems as Birches and The Road Less Traveled. It's a poem about nature. Well, nature versus society, to be more specific. Robert Frost tends to use nature as a way to comment or reflect on humanity, and this poem may be no different. The speaker seems torn between their obligations in society and the calm beauty of nature. Even the horse, once a wild animal, has been turned into nothing more than a tool of society, seemingly judgmental of the narrator's restful enjoyment of the scenery, reminding them to return to the real world and urging them onward. The narrator knows that they must return and trudge back to their town, and that journey back seems endless, with miles and miles to go before they're able to rest. They'd rather rest now and stay in the calm serenity of nature, enjoying the quiet sound of the snow and the wind, instead of heading back into society, making that journey back seem even more endless, thus befitting the repetition of those final 2 lines. Like all art, the intended purpose is only part of the story. Much of a piece's value comes from how you, the reader, receive and interpret it. But whichever interpretation you go with, it seems like this poem is encouraging us to stop and take a moment to reflect. A moment to think about our lives, or contemplate a serious life-altering choice, or just enjoy the beauty of the natural world. So, it may be cliche, but perhaps we should stop and smell a rose, or listen to a bird sing, or watch some falling snow. Or, abandon civilization to go live inside a mountain with Ron Swanson. You do you. Thanks for watching this episode of Piper's Paraphrases. Now go forth, read a bunch, and be good people.